Okay, today I wanted to just kind of play around in Medley a little bit and see if I could make a simple little plotting program. There may be existing utilities on here for that kind of thing, but I just wanted to make a little tool that basically takes some points and then plots them inside the window. So what I do here may or may not be the correct way to do things, but I think it's good to have at least some demonstration out of people attempting to use the system or using the system, so others can learn and also offer critiques. So what I'd like to do first is I'm going to open up a REPL for Interlisp, which is the list that I'm going to use as my main shell in here because that's kind of where all the commands are. Also, I like to have, let's see if I have it open. These are my notes, I think. Let me expand this. And really, this should be in a note card, but for now, I'm just writing my own little notes out here in a document. So this is what I kind of plan to go through. Let me send that to the back. Actually, for now, I will just shrink this back. And this is, like a standard desktop. I mean, we're talking Xerox PARC here. I mean, the guys that invented the desktop, more or less. So basically, you have windows that you can right-click the border, and you get some options to shape, which of course is, we think of that as resizing. You can right-click, you can move it, you get an outline. It's not redrawing the contents, but it's giving you an outline of basically where it would be when you move it around. But anyway, what I wanted to do was open up the D-info, which is, I think that's for Interlisp D, which is what all these graphic systems are, different variants of that. But if I right-click the desktop and then move around while I hold the right button down, I can move to D-info, and you're going to get basically an information panel, which is kind of nice to have. There's some different options here. You can find and look up, like example, I think find might work on the same page. I'm not sure about that. I think lookup is by topic. So for example, earlier I wanted to see if there was a random function, right? So I can look up rand. And it does a little digging, and it turns out there's a rand function, and I'm going to use this to generate some test data. And also another feature I'll be using this in this is the for loop, which is a precursor to the loop that you'll see in Common Lisp, the more advanced version of that. I think they recently added that as well on the Common Lisp side of things, but I might play a little bit in both. It depends on how I want to write this tool. And it's nice to work in both because you can jump back between those, and they operate with each other. So anyway, I guess I will begin by creating a function that generates a series of pairs. Let me minimize this. Right click on this bar here, and I'm going to shrink, is the terminology they use, shrink that back down. Another way you can find information on functions is you can use the apropos. We'll do rand, and we'll get some things back. And also you can see right here, actually it's found it for us. The output stops when it reaches a page full, so you can hit enter, and there's a bunch of cloth stuff. That's cool. Okay, so anyway, you've got that option too, and I believe there's a man function as well. You can do man, and I think you can do it this way. Any luck? Oh, I guess that brings up the hyperspec for whatever reason. I could have sworn that it worked a little bit differently. Maybe I'll have to look into that. But so let's do 4, right? Because that's the actually it's going to try and resolve that. Let's see what happens if I quote it. Because I want the Interlisp form of 4. There we go. So it's going to find that, and we want the iterative operator, and I think that's what IS is. I'm not sure, but let's left click that, and it'll do some thinking. And I don't know why it's going to the hyperspec tonight. That's not what I really want. I have gotten it to bring up the documentation for it. I'm in Interlisp. Well, anyway, for now, oh, maybe this is it. Yeah, here it is. So that's kind of weird because it brought up the browser for the hyperspec, but this is what I'm looking for anyway. So we'll be using the for loop and some of its various forms to create our point collection for this plotting little tool I'm going to build. So let me go ahead and shrink this down. I could just leave this up. Let me move this back over here. And I have it in my notes. I've prepared one beforehand. So let me expand this. I'm going to bury this below. Right click, and burying will, well, it should put it below everything else, but why it's not doing that, I don't know. So let me just reshape this for a minute. That's kind of strange. Of course, everything acts up when you're trying to do a demo. So anyway, the function that I want to use is this version of the for loop. It's just basically going to generate a series of cons cells. I'm going to use the X as the car and the Y as the cutter. Here, I'll just kind of show you what I mean. Most people will know this. Another important thing is Interlisp is case sensitive on the Interlisp side. So always just lock your caps lock on. There's some functions that are specifically lowercase, but I think most of the stuff I'll be doing tonight is uppercase. So we'll do a cons of, let's say we want to point with an X and a Y of 1 and 2. It's going to give me that. All right. How do we unwrap that? Well, we can do the car, which is going to be the value of the first pointer. Con cell has 2 pointers. We're going to take the car of that, and it's going to be 2, and we'll get a 1 back. But before I do that, Medley supports the super paren, which is basically, there's 2 of them. There's an opening one and a closing one, and the closing one will put the correct number of closing brackets on it. So here we have 2. What we could do is we'll just use the super paren right there, and instead of having to count our parentheses and put them all back on, this is just in the shell, I think. I don't know if this will work in saved text. I'd have to check. But at least in the Interlisp shell, on the Interlisp side, you can do this. So the next thing we want to do is be able to dig the Y out of that con cell, right? So we'll do the cutter. Oops, 1, 2. And I'm just going to use a super paren again to slam that close. And of course, we can get the 2 out of there. So this is the basic structure I'm going to use for my list of points. Just simple cons cells. Of course, you could do something like this. You could do something like this and have 2 elements, but this only takes 1 con cell this way. Otherwise, you have, two con cells, each with a car of a number. But I guess most Lisp guys probably know that, so I'm going to go on. So now let's look at this loop here. And this is going to be a function that I'm going to write to generate my test data, right? So there's an online editor, and I think it's just edit, or maybe it's ed. But I need to give it a symbol first. So gen PTS, right? That's just fine. I think that's what I want. No, maybe it's just ed. Actually, what I really want is the structure editor, but I need to know, is it just ed? Let's try ed. And then, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I want to edit this symbol, and I'm going to tell it that I want a function. And I believe this creates a common Lisp function because it's a defen. So we're going to select that. All right. So it's created a dummy function here, which is kind of nice. And of course, before I get too far down the road, if you middle click this, you get some editing options. These are kind of the Lispy area structural editing functions, and then of course done, and these basically evaluate it and complete defining the function in memory. So gen points, basically an arg list, right? Maybe we should have an optional number of points. And this is a structure editor too, so you're going to see it takes out the entire string. So I'm going to use the and optional, and we're going to do num points, right? And actually what I should do, let's use the mouse, this newfangled mouse invention. Actually, this is a great example to work with this. So we want this to be in a list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to middle click, and then there's a parenthesize option here. Yeah, that's fine. See if I can. I think I need to maybe do this. Is it select and then right? I could have sworn that if I parenthesize. Okay, so I had to middle click it and then select it, and I think this will do it. Let's try middle clicking here. There we go. Okay, so rather than right clicking and dragging across, I had to just middle click it. Again, this was when the Wild West was being, won as far as interfaces go. But anyway, num points is going to have a default value. I think 100 is a good. Actually, we're computer science here. Let's do 128. You keep with our sacred power of two numbers. That'll work well. So, gen points is going to generate basically a number of points, and it'll default to 128 if not specified. Right. So now we can begin writing our body. This loop using the Interlisp 4. So I think in order to use that, since this is in the common Lisp side of things, maybe I need to use IL. We'll find out. All right, IL4. Oh, I guess it's going to fix it anyway for me. So I from 0 to, we're going to use num points here, right? Collect. And you'll see this bumped it down a line. So Interlisp has, or the structural editor has some opinions here on how things should be spaced. And basically you type, it's going to decide how they're spaced. I don't know if there's a way to override that, but usually it behaves itself pretty well. So now we're in the collect part, right? So now we need to define this collecting clause. You see I've opened a parentheses and it's already closed it. It's ready for the inside of that. So we're going to use our new cons. What is that going to get? That's going to get it rand. And remember, if we check our documentation, there's a upper bound and lower bound for rand. Do I have the manual? Let me open that up, expand it. Now, if you middle click here, there's a history menu. Where is that? Ah, here it is. So let's go into the history, and I'm going to select the rand button here. And you can see we've got lower and upper. We've got the basic basic parameters there. I don't know that all the functions are in here. I know the guys that work on this may add new stuff, or stuff may not be linked. But this manual is fairly robust. Like I said, I don't know if it's exhaustive. It may not be. But for the most part, it seems to have a lot of good stuff in it. You can look through my past history here. But I'm going to right click and I'm going to shrink this back. You can leave these windows open. It runs okay. It's not choking to death or anything. I'm going to move this back here where I can see it easier. Okay, carrying on. So I want, let's see, I could make this simple or I could make it difficult. One thing to note is that in all your windows and the desktop, 0, 0 is down here, right? So you have positive y-axis and positive x-axis. For the sake of demonstration, I think we're going to keep our plotter simple and assume only positive numbers. We could do a fancy thing with an offset in the middle of the window and plot them from the center of the window. But for now, I think we're just going to keep with positive values and do just positive and negative. So I'm going to deviate from this a little bit, in that I'm just going to do positive because I don't want to get too wordy with this. So we're going to go 0 to 100, right? And that's our first That's our first coordinate value. Now I'm going to use a mouse and I'm going to insert a new thing here. I'm going to use rand and I'm going to use 0 to 100 once more. And sometimes when you hit the space button or the space bar, you won't see it move right away. It'll change characters from this chevron shape into a solid one, and that means it's ready to. It saw your space press and it's just waiting for you to type the next thing in, so it can presumptuously reformat things. Okay, so I think that should be it. It's nice it does symbol resolution with highlighting there. So I think we're good. So what I will do is I will middle click this and I'm going to say done, right? And we should be able to call this new function gen points, hopefully. Hey, there we go. So we've got our point generation routine, and these look good. So this will be the test function that we're going to feed into this little plot tool. And if you had a list of your own made some other way, maybe through some scientific earthquake data with latitude and longitude coordinates, you'd have your own data and then you'd do a load file and you wouldn't be generating sample points. But for tonight, gen points should be just fine. So with that done, there's two really things that I can do with this. I can close it out and I can edit it later, or I can, for now, just right click this border and I'm going to shrink it just so I have this file at hand. I could always edit it once more, you know, and do whatever with it. Also, another interesting thing is the REPL here has some commands that you can send it to work within the REPL. So, for example, if you type in redo, you know, it's going to do the last command. And I think you can feed it a line number as well to redo by line number. Let's see. There's also a fix command that will touch up the last thing you worked at. So let's say I'm going to add 1 and something ridiculous like you know, let's make a mistake, right? So it's going to say 32 is not a number, which is an excellent thing because Lisp is not a weakly typed language; it's a dynamically typed language. There's a difference. But let's say we wanted to fix this up and run it again. Let's say this was a longer command, right? So we can fix, and it'll take the last thing and bring it back up. And this isn't like another shell where you can't use the mouse. You can always poke it exactly where you want it to go. So in this case, we can go ahead and do this and, you know, run it again. We get the expected 33. Okay, so we've got our data generation. We've got our data generation function. Now let's talk a little bit about windows. So windows are a really nice thing in Interlisp. They're kind of the reason for this nice GUI graphical interface. Let's create one. Now, Windows gonna really want a region, right? And regions are a structure, but they just boil down to a list. Really, if you're going to build serious software, then you need to use the create region function. So if any of that ever changes, the underlying data structure doesn't matter. But for tonight, we're going to do a little hack here. All right, we're going to do just a list. X, Y, width. Let's do this. Right, so there's our region, and then we have a title on the end. And whatever is good. And we're going to close this, right? So now we have a window. That's how easy it is to create a window. We give it a geometry and a name, right? You might ask yourself, well, that's great, but what does a window consist of? Well, what does it actually look like behind the scenes? Well, let's use the inspector for that. I'm just going to do some nonsense here for the sake of time. Okay, region is too small. Okay, well, now we learned something. So, let's go back and let's fix. Right? Fine, we will do some random stuff here. It's going to be a really tiny window. So, we got our window here. Let's shape this, right? And that gives us basically, a new window with a title that we said. And then we have this sort of inspector, which is very handy. You can also edit some of these things by, I think you can left click and then middle click, and you can set them and inspect them. This is really handy if you have things that are multi-structured. In other words, you might have an object that has, or a structure that has another structure, and you can keep digging into these and inspecting them. So we see here exactly what a window is. I'm going to close this out. We'll close the inspector, and you'll notice that this window sticks around. So windows stick around until you actually kill them off. Okay. So now we've created an instance of a window. We know how to do that. We know how to set the geometry. Let's see. I might have to do this video in 2 parts. Yeah. Okay. Window prop. Okay. So you can change things and access things with the window prop command. So what I'll do is I'll create a temporary. I'm going to use the let command to create a local copy of this. That way it can be garbage collected when it's finished. This is kind of a nice way to do it. Create a temporary instance, work on it a little bit, and then when you're done toying with it, it gets freed, garbage collected. So now we'll do create W for window. It wants a region. We could make a region the right way. I think it might be create region. We'll see. 0, 0, 6. I'm going to just test this for now. Okay, it is create region. So, like, this is the proper way to do it. This is the way you really should do it. Maybe I'll adapt my tutorial to do it that way, but we'll close this. All right, so now we'll fix this. Okay, so window, I'm not going to give this window a title in the creation. I'm going to do it after the fact, right? So window prop, basically what it does is it takes a window, which we've defined above as as W, and then it takes a symbol name and an optional value. If you don't provide a value, it returns the name of whatever it is. So let's do title. Right? I'm going to close this with the fancy. Did I do that wrong? Yeah, let's fix it. Let's see where this is. Did I get... Let me just look at this real quick. So we create region. Maybe I need to create it with a title. Oh! That's why we didn't create it with a title. Why am I saying we? There's just me doing this stuff. I didn't create it with a title. So now we get the title back. Okay. So there's ways to set those properties that we saw earlier within a window. So let's fix this once more. What I would like to do now is set it to something else. So now if I provide a value, rather than just digging out the value, it'll do see, now we've created a window basically with a title, and now we overrode it, right? So I think for the sake of breaking things into small pieces, I'm probably going to end the recording here, and then maybe make a part 2 where we finish making this tool, go over the line drawing commands and everything else. So I'm going to save the VM here, which basically is going to just dump the entire image, save the entire image, and that'll make it easier for me to pick up next time. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, well, stick around for part 2. All right, have a good night.